the quiet suburbs of Illinois, evil smiled behind grease paint. A neighborhood hero, a friendly volunteer, a man everyone thought they knew. John Wayne Gacy blended so seamlessly into community life that no one ever noticed the darkness he kept buried deep beneath the surface. December 1978. The night air hung heavy as officers gathered outside a tidy home on Summerdale Avenue. The wallpaper inside peeled from the damp. The air felt wrong, thick, unmoving, like the house itself was holding its breath. Something foul lingered beneath the floorboards, something no one was prepared to uncover. It had all begun with what seemed like a routine missing person case. A young boy vanished without a trace. A search, a few questions, a polite conversation with the helpful neighbor who claimed he barely knew the kid. But the moment the first trench was dug beneath that house, officers felt the truth tightening around their throats. This wasn't one boy, this was something else entirely. To understand how evil hid in a place so ordinary, you have to go back. Gacy was born in 1942, a boy with a smile too wide, trying too hard to be liked. Living under the shadow of a father who called him weak, he grew addicted to approval. Every compliment became a mask, every handshake a shield. Rejection turned to resentment. Resentment hardened into control. Control learned to smile. By the mid-1970s, Gacy was the picture of civic pride. Businessman, party host, volunteer. He shook hands with local officials, helped neighbors fix fences, and performed at hospitals dressed as Pogo the Clown. A crooked grin painted across his face. But behind that smile lived a man living two lives. One was charming. One was something twisted and hungry. Then came the whispers. The strange digging at night. The sour smell around his home dismissed as plumbing issues. Employees who vanished without explanation. Neighbors who saw too little and ignored too much. People see what they want to see, especially when evil looks like a friendly face. And by the end of 1978, one disappearance would unravel everything. But what the officers were about to uncover beneath that house would redefine the word monster. In the end, it wasn't a dramatic witness or a sudden revelation that brought John Wayne Gacy's world crashing down. It was something much smaller, a missing boy, a detective who refused to ignore a gut feeling, and a series of lies that fell apart the moment they were spoken. December 1978. The cold clung to the Illinois streets as police retraced the steps of a 15-year-old who never made it home. Friends said he'd last been seen heading toward a familiar man, a man who smiled too much, a man who insisted he hardly knew the boy. But when officers knocked on Gacy's door, the charm he was known for felt forced, too eager, too polished. He said he'd been home, then he hadn't. He hadn't met the boy, then he had. He couldn't recall the time, then suddenly he could. Lie after lie, layer upon layer, shifting under officer scrutiny like sand in a storm. A surveillance team formed quietly. Unmarked cars watched as Gacy tried desperately to live, as if nothing was unraveling. He laughed louder, moved faster, looked over his shoulder more often. He wasn't calm anymore, he was cracking. Background checks uncovered old reports. Names of missing boys crossed paths with Gacy's timeline too many times to ignore. And every thread pointed back to the same house, Summerdale Avenue. Search warrants followed. Receipts, belongings, paperwork. Nothing immediately damning, but nothing reassuring either, and always that smell. Gacy blamed it on pipes, carpet issues, chemicals. But officers knew better. There are certain scents that bypass logic, scents that burrow into the mind and whisper a single warning. Something is very wrong here. By December 21st, the pressure became too heavy for even Gacy to carry. He walked into the police station exhausted and hollow. The smile was gone. The mask had slipped. And finally, he broke. He confessed. Quietly at first, then fully. Patterns, names, and the crawl space no one wanted to believe held anything sinister. Police descended on the home. Shovels broke the earth, then stopped. Because what they found beneath that house would shake the entire nation. The crawl space beneath John Wayne Gacy's home became one of the most haunting crime scenes in American history. Officers uncovered one horrific discovery after another, each one confirming what no one had dared to imagine. The scale was staggering, unthinkable, beyond anything the small community could comprehend. News spread across the country like wildfire. Anchors spoke in hushed, trembling tones. Neighbors stared at their hands, wondering how they had lived so close to such darkness without ever seeing the truth. Parents pulled their children closer as if trying to ward off a nightmare that had been living next door. Courtrooms packed with reporters and grieving families. Testimonies echoed through hallways heavy with sorrow. The man who once danced at parades in clown makeup now stood among the most notorious names in criminal history. Years passed. Appeals were filed. Arguments made. But nothing could erase what had been uncovered beneath that house. Nothing could soften the horror of what had happened out of sight, yet in plain view. Gacy became a symbol, a reminder that monsters rarely look like monsters. They look like neighbors, like volunteers, like smiling men who shake your hand and ask about your day. His story carved itself into history with chilling clarity. Evil doesn't always hide in shadows. Sometimes it hides right in front of us, wearing a grin, holding a balloon, pretending to help. He fooled a neighborhood, he fooled a community, but he could not fool time. And eventually time unmasked him completely, peeling away every lie, every secret, every layer of charm he had built. In the end, the question wasn't how he got away with it for so long. The real question was darker. How many monsters just like him walk among us right now, hidden, smiling, waiting to be found?